Hey friends, welcome back to my channel. So in today's video, as you would have seen in the title, we are discussing yet another Tim Burton theory. Yes, because for a while I've just been doing Disney theories on my channel, but I thought it was time to go back to my roots, back to those creepy cartoon movies, and do a Tim Burton theory. So today we are discussing the theory that Frankenweenie, The Corpse Bride, and The Nightmare Before Christmas all exist in the same universe, and that these three movies are in fact about the same boy and their dog through their life and death. But just real quick before we get into the theory, I know I was meant to upload a DIY this week, but the stuff I ordered for the DIY hasn't shown up yet, so we are here with a theory instead. So there'll be a DIY though next week. So if you're a big Tim Burton fan, you would have seen this photo right here floating all around Tumblr. It went viral, and this is where the theory stemmed from. So today let's discuss whether this theory is real or not so real. So this theory starts with Tim Burton's Frankenweenie, with Victor Frankenstein as the main character. He is a budding scientist and filmmaker, and his only friend is his dog Sparky. Needless to say, after an unfortunate accident where his only friend Sparky dies, he is absolutely lost and distraught. However, this is until in science class where Victor learns that electric currents can be shot through a body to make them move. Victor Frankenstein then lives up to his last name and pulls a big old Frankenstein on us, bringing his dog back to life. But as you would all know, Sparky does eventually die again, and for good this time, and Victor just learns to accept it. So this is where the theory part comes in. So the theory is that after Victor's dog Sparky died for the second time and he accepted his death, he was really upset, so his parents bought him another dog which he named Scraps. So his new dog Scraps does eventually die, where he is turned into a spirit, and we see Scraps again later on in the timeline as Jack Skellington's dog. But that's getting ahead of ourselves. So apparently Victor is so upset with the loss of not only one but two dogs that he absolutely loses it and runs away from home into a Victorian village where he is adopted by Mr. and Mrs. Van Dort. And this is where he then changes from Victor Frankenstein to Victor Van Dort, and the entire plot of The Corpse Bride plays out. So what's the evidence to this? Well, if we have a side-by-side of the two Victors, they do look very similar, almost as if Victor Van Dort is just the grown-up version of Victor Frankenstein. I mean, they have the same haircut and they look similar, so it's really not that far-fetched that Victor Frankenstein ran away, changed his last name, and became Victor Van Dort. However, the theory does not end there, because eventually Victor Van Dort does have to re-enter the underworld for real this time when he dies, and supposedly after his experience there the first time, which we see in The Corpse Bride, he knows that to survive in the underworld you have to be mean and scary. So he changes from Victor Van Dort to an alias which he names Jack Skellington, and he becomes the Pumpkin King himself, where he is once again reunited with his dog Scraps. This is also supposedly why Scraps' nose glows, because it shows that they do have a further connection that went on above the spirit world, like in the real world. And that's the entire theory, that Victor Frankenstein turned into Victor Van Dort, who then turned into Jack Skellington. So do I believe that this is true? No. You all know I love a good theory. Half of my channel is literally me just discussing theories, but I like a good theory with evidence, and that is what this theory is severely lacking. So let's do something new for this channel and go through everything wrong with this theory. And let me tell you, there is a lot. The first problem is with Victor Frankenstein turning into Victor Van Dort. There's literally no evidence in either movie that supports this statement, apart from the fact that the two do look similar. However, I just think that's Tim Burton's style, that's just the way that he does his characters. There's also no evidence in The Corpse Bride or Frankenweenie that Victor was adopted at all and changed his last name. There's literally no evidence. It's also never alluded to, stated, nothing that Victor Van Dort is adopted and it's actually Victor Frankenstein. So there's really no evidence to that statement at all. Also, Victor Van Dort, Victor Frankenstein, and Jack Skellington all have different names, and it's a little bit far-fetched to think that one man would change his name 3 times and turn into 3 completely different people. And all of their dogs also have different names, so it's a bit hard to believe that not only the humans changed their names 3 times, but so did the dogs. There's also nothing in any of the movies to allude that they're in the same universe. I mean, if we have a side-by-side here of all 3 movie sceneries, they are completely different and don't look the same in the slightest, as Frankenweenie is set in the suburbs while The Corpse Bride is clearly set in the Victorian era with all castles. So the scenery is not at all the same. The Nightmare Before Christmas also wasn't directed by Tim Burton, which is a minor flaw in the Tim Burton theory. And finally, the largest problem with this theory, which is a pretty big one, is the time period. In the theory, Frankenweenie supposedly comes before the Corpse Bride. However, this is literally impossible, as Frankenweenie is set in the late 1940s, while the Corpse Bride is set in the late 1800s. So this theory literally, it doesn't make any sense. Not to mention that Tim Burton also in an interview flat out stated that this theory is not true and it's not real. So unfortunately, this Tim Burton theory isn't true, but if you do want to see a Tim Burton theory that I believe is true about the Corpse Bride, then you can click right here where I've already done a video on that for you guys. So thank you all so much for watching. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up, comment down below your thoughts, and if you want to see more of my face, I am on Instagram, Pinterest, Twitter, and I like repost stuff on SoundCloud. So those are all on the screen right now. And I'll see you guys in next week's video for a DIY. It'll be there, I promise. Bye guys. Literally, only I would get full on glam to do a Tim Burton theory. Like, who am I? Definitely the most glam theory YouTuber there is. I'm also wearing red because I just finished watching the BB Rexa The Way I Are video before this, and she was wearing red and I was like, yes, feeling those red vibes.